Hello, this is day 34 of reading one canto of the Divine Comedy every day. We are on Inferno, Canto 34, which I will read from the Longfellow translation before getting into some quick comments. Vexilla regis prodeunt inferni. Towards us. Therefore look in front of thee, my master said, if thou discernest him. As, when there breathes a heavy fog, or when our hemisphere is darkening into night, appears far off a mill the wind is turning, methought that such a building then I saw, and, for the wind, I drew myself behind my guide, because there was no other shelter. Now was I, and with fear in verse I put it, there where the shades were wholly covered up, and glimmered through like unto straws in glass. Some prone are lying, others stand erect, this with the head, and that one with the soles, another, bow-like, face to feet inverts. When in advance so far we had proceeded, that it my master pleased to show to me the creature, who once had the beauteous semblance, he from before me moved, and made me stop, saying, Behold dis, and behold the place where thou with fortitude must arm thyself. How frozen I became, and powerless then. Ask it not, reader, for I write it not, because all language would be insufficient. I did not die, and alive I remained not. Think for thyself now, hast thou aught of wit, what I became, being of both deprived? The emperor of the kingdom dolorous from his mid-breast forth issued from the ice, and better with a giant I compare than do the giants with those arms of his. Consider now how great must be that whole which unto such a part conforms itself. Were he as fair once as he now is foul, and lifted up his brow against his Maker, well may proceed from him all tribulation. Oh, what a marvel it appeared to me when I beheld 3 faces on his head. The one in front, and that vermilion was, 2 were the others, that were joined with this above the middle part of either shoulder, and they were joined together at the crest. And the right-hand one seemed twixt white and yellow. The left was such to look upon as those who come from where the Nile falls valleyward. Underneath each came forth 2 mighty wings, such as befitting were so great a bird. Sails of the sea I never saw so large. No feathers had they, but as of a bat their fashion was, and he was waving them, so that 3 winds proceeded forth therefrom. Thereby Cocytus wholly was congealed. With 6 eyes did he weep, and down 3 chins trickled the teardrops and the bloody drivel. At every mouth he with his teeth was crunching a sinner in the manner of a brake, so that he 3 of them tormented thus. To him in front the biting was as naught unto the clawing, for sometimes the spine utterly stripped of all the skin remained. That soul up there which has the greatest pain, the master said, is Judas Iscariot. With head inside, he plies his legs without. Of the 2 others who head downward are, the one who hangs from the black jowl is Brutus. See how he writhes himself and speaks no word. And the other, who so stalwart seems, is Cassius. But night is reascending, and 'tis time that we depart, for we have seen the whole. As seemed him good, I clasped him round the neck, and he the vantage sees of time and place, and when the wings were opened wide apart, he laid fast hold upon the shaggy sides. From fell to fell descended downward then, between the thick hair and the frozen crust. When we were come to where the thigh revolves exactly on the thickness of the haunch, the guide, with labor and with hard-drawn breath, turned round his head where he had had his legs, and grappled to the hair as one who mounts, so that to hell I thought we were returning. Keep fast thy hold, for by such stairs as these, the master said, panting as one fatigued, must we perforce depart from so much evil. Then through the opening of a rock he issued, and down upon the margin seated me. Then towards me he outstretched his wary step. I lifted up mine eyes, and thought to see Lucifer in the same way I had left him, and I beheld him upward hold his legs. And if I then became disquieted, Let stolid people think who do not see what the point is beyond which I had passed. Rise up, the master said, upon thy feet. The way is long and difficult the road, and now the sun to Middle Terce returns. It was not any palace corridor there where we were, but dungeon natural, with floor uneven and unease of light. Ere from the abyss I tear myself away, my master, said I when I had arisen. To draw me from an error, speak a little. Where is the ice? And how is this one fixed thus upside down? And how in such short time from eve to morn has the sun made his transit? And he to me, Thou still imaginest thou art beyond the centre, where I grasped the hair of the fell worm, who mines the world. That side thou wast, so long as I descended. When round I turned me, thou didst pass the point, to which things heavy draw from every side. And now, beneath the hemisphere, art come opposite that which overhangs the vast dry land, and neath whose cope was put to death the man who without sin was born and lived. Thou hast thy feet upon the little sphere, which makes the other face of the Judeca. Here it is morn when it is evening there, and he who with his hair a stairway made us, still fixed remaineth as he was before. Upon this side he fell down out of heaven, and all the land that whilom here emerged, for fear of him made of the sea a veil, and came to our hemisphere, and peradventure to flee from him, what on this side appears left the place vacant here, and back recoiled. A place there is below, from Beelzebub as far receding as the tomb extends, which not by sight is known, but by the sound of a small rivulet, that there descendeth through chasm within the stone, which it has gnawed with course that winds about and slightly falls. The guide and I into that hidden road now entered, to return to the bright world. And without care of having any rest, we mounted up, he first, and I the second, till I beheld through a round aperture some of the beauteous things that heaven doth bear. Thence we came forth to re-behold the stars. The Latin words that Virgil says at the beginning of this canto, Vexilla regis prodeunt inferni, are a kind of a bastardization of a Latin chant that's sung on Good Friday, which means the banners of the king advance. And in this case, it means the banners of the king of hell advance. And as Mark Musa points out, the banners referred to are Lucifer's wings. And so they do, for Virgil points out to Dante that they have finally reached the center of it all. The very, very, very last part of hell, where, guess who it is? The devil. Satan himself is visible. He's bigger than any of the giants that they found so far, and he's absolutely terrifying. Dante says that he was neither alive nor dead, so terrified was he. And that is who we are seeing here. We see Lucifer. He's enormous, bigger than any of the giants that we're seeing a few cantos ago. And most notably, he has 3 faces. Not 3 heads, 3 faces. Why? Well, because he is a kind of a reversal of the Trinity, which is, again, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, 3 persons in one God. And Lucifer is kind of a distorted inversion of that. 3 faces on one head, which is fitting because it's believed that Lucifer was indeed, at the beginning, the greatest of the angels, the very most powerful of them, most wonderful, and yet he became the absolute worst. He chose to fall so far. So at the beginning, he was most like his creator, and yet he is now completely opposite, opposed to the creator, bearing that inversion of the Trinity upon his form. Regarding his faces, though, Mark Musa has a really, really incredible note that I want to read to you. The colors of the 3 single faces, red, yellow, and black, are probably antithetically analogous to the qualities attributed to the Trinity. If you remember back to Canto 3, when we're reading the words on the gates of hell, it claims that the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit created hell, but doesn't refer to them by those names. Instead, it refers to them by highest wisdom, primal love, and divine omnipotence. Therefore, highest wisdom would be opposed by ignorance, the black face, divine omnipotence by impotence, yellow face, primal love by hatred or envy, and that's the red one. But just in the process of Dante describing this, his fear abates a little bit. You notice how when he first sees Lucifer, he's so terrified, he does not even tell us. He says, "No, don't ask me to describe it to you. I was not alive and I was not dead. I was completely paralyzed by fear." But then he starts to. And the thing is, this is true for almost any fear that you have. If something scares you, describe it. Break it down. Analyze it. Decide what it actually is finitely. And it won't scare you quite as much. And more importantly here, you'll be able to face it, which is one of the whole purposes of this entire journey through the Inferno. If you're going through hell, keep going. Dante has to keep going. Even faced with Satan himself, he has to keep going. If he's going to make it out alive, if he's going to leave his sins behind, he has to get past Satan. In his mouths, as you heard, there are three quite prominent traitors: Judas Iscariot, who betrayed Jesus Christ, and Cassius and Brutus, who together betrayed Julius Caesar. We know that Dante really likes Caesar, so of course it's those two traitors that are here. If I had to guess, I mean, obviously there's only three people here, but traitors of friends, people who betrayed their friends, I suppose. Except Judas endures greater punishment because his friend was God. So there you go. Also, Satan's eyes. Did you notice that it said that he was crying? It's not that there's any pity for himself or in his state. It's more like he feels the weight of sin. He's literally the center of weight. But then what happens next? Does the devil look at them? Does he try to attack them? Is there a big fight? No, there's no confrontation at all. He doesn't look at him. Nothing. Nothing. Is this just bad story writing? No, it's symbolism and another really important moral lesson. Evil has no fulfilling, satisfying end. Satan is all empty show, as is sin. There is nothing fulfilling at the end of it. There's no end. It's very anticlimactic by nature. But anyways, there is still something of a challenge that is here, and that is Dante hops onto Virgil's back, and Virgil has to time his approach just right not to be swept up in the winds coming out of the wings. And once the wings are apart, he dashes in and grabs onto the side of Satan himself. Why? This is the direct confrontation with Satan if there is one. And what is it? Literally climbing down Satan's leg itself to get out of hell. And in case you didn't quite understand what was going on there, remember, Satan is at the center of the earth. And so, if you crawl down him far enough, you're eventually going to have to turn yourself around and be crawling up, because the gravity switches on the other hemisphere of the earth. Kind of cool how Dante's symbolism sometimes encompasses scientific truths as well. And lastly, once they crawl out and see Lucifer's feet sticking out from the ground, because they've made it to the other hemisphere, they find a small little path that is made by a stream, and they have to climb up through that in order to get back to the surface of the earth. I was wrong a few cantos ago when I said that the pit of hell was made by Lucifer's descent. No, it was actually this path here that was made by his fall. I was wrong about that. But in any case, it's still true that on the other side of the earth from where they entered, they will now find the mountain of purgatory. But more on that tomorrow. Congratulations, you've completed the Inferno. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something about yourself. I hope that you found things in yourself that you want to be rid of, bad things that you want to change in your life. And, of course, I hope that you enjoyed reading this great piece of literature. Don't stop with the Inferno. Remember, sin does not have a satisfying ending. Read on through Purgatory and Paradiso. I'll see you tomorrow.